Artificial intelligence has been a major buzzword over the last few weeks, a major development by some big tech corporations aimed at burnishing the United States' role in growing AI. Let's talk about that and more with Sean Tufts. He's the managing partner with Optiv. He's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Welcome in, Sean. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
So first of all, because there's been so much that's happened in the last week or so, and I think I want to talk about that big investment we learned about last week, where you have these major players coming to the table and committing a huge amount of money in order to develop the infrastructure that needs to be built in order for AI to become part of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, all these companies have a lot of the puzzle in AI, but not the whole thing, right? Even OpenAI, they need a lot more firepower from energy, from data centers, from cloud providers. So this is bringing all those groups together, flattening out organizations and saying, let's do something better.
And it looks like in this case, you want to get these companies on board as opposed to putting everything in the hands of maybe government entities that don't necessarily get the lay of the land, at least not yet. I mean, I think we're still having a tough time getting some lawmakers to understand, social media on a daily basis, let alone the growing field of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, this is kind of like Ricky Bobby. In AI, you're either first or last. So the American industry is ready to take control of this thing. We were a lot of the pioneers in it. And now we need that final spin on it to really cement ourselves as the world leader here.
I mean, we're seeing right now the daily applications. I mean, it's being rolled out in our phones. I mean, people have downloaded apps left and right. ChatGPT has become really a part of the daily workflow for a lot of people. But what sort of investments does this go towards? If you're spending this amount of money to build out the infrastructure, I mean, what is there an end game, or is it something that we're going to learn more about as we go along?
It is definitely a learning avenue while we grow. I think we haven't really unlocked all the dependencies yet. If we want this AI engine to move as fast as we need it or require it in the future, it's going to take a lot of investments that aren't quite clear yet. We have to refine that aperture and make sure that from a energy consumption, from a cooling perspective, from a data center, from a cloud compute perspective, from a chip perspective, that we're ready to pour it all in before we have a false start.
And when we look at where the United States is in rolling this out, OpenAI has been huge in getting the technology and getting the ball rolling on this. But much like there was a space race back in the 50s with Russia, we're seeing China making some advances. Big story out this week was this DeepSeek app that became that overtook ChatGPT in a lot of the app stores out there. When you make these sort of investments, when you see companies going all in with investing in AI, I mean, is there a parallel to saying this is sort of like us trying to be the first country to get to the moon?
Oh, I've seen a lot of people talking about Sputnik today. It feels a lot like that moment where we've got a couple countries that are really vying and pouring their public and private capital to go win. And I think in this case, it feels a lot like, that 1980s time frame where there's a lot to be won. And we have a pretty clear picture of what that could look like and how we can harness it. But the use cases that are kind of second and third that will be prime in 2025 are just now coming to light, where we can see the value in unlocking this technology.
Is there a reason for some people to maybe be a little skeptical about AI and the advances it's making?
In cybersecurity, we worry a lot about people, process, and technology. We got the technology part thrust ahead of the people and the process piece. So from a governance perspective, we don't know what data we're putting into our AI models, let alone China's AI models, so let's be careful about that. Yeah. We also haven't quite trained our users. My mom loves ChatGPT, and I don't have any idea what she's doing with it, and she doesn't either. So we need to really train our personas to be able to use these things for good and not put data we shouldn't in there. The first early failures were companies putting their source code into ChatGPT. We can't do that. We have to train those people and process parts. So governance to me is a big, big piece. Jim, what are you doing with your AI? How are you taught to do that? What things do you know not to put into these AI models? Those are really important pieces for a newsroom, for a company, for anybody in this space.
I thought you were about to quiz me, and I was worried about what answers I was about to give and if I'd get in trouble for them on TV. I've talked with many of your colleagues with Optiv in the past, and we've talked a lot on the cybersecurity level and really things that people need to know on that plane. And I guess my last question here is, when you look at all these advances being made in AI and making sure that we are in a secure and safe world in the cyber realm, can the two coexist peacefully?
The two will coexist peacefully. It's going to take some failures to get there. So we're just now seeing some of the cybersecurity use cases of, number one, people harnessing it for bad. Those are things are starting to happen. I think we've gotten through the people using it inappropriately, as I mentioned, dumping their own source code into a public tool. So I think we're starting to unlock what we know as good behavior and bad behavior. From a cyber perspective, it enables our attackers, but it also enables our defenders. We can use this tool and harness it to dig through all these really, really complicated data sets and find that one piece of information that helps us identify a breach. And if we can do that faster and better, then we can keep pace with the people that are trying to do us harm.
Sean, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And again, I love talking about things like this. It's a new frontier, and I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about it, but I think knowledge is also power, which is why we talk with guys like you. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jim.
We're back after this.